Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Namaste Center. It's Palm Sunday, 2014, and it is a beautiful day for many, many reasons. We're blessed with beautiful weather, beautiful company, and blessed with the message of the Easter holiday season. And today I want to express and share some insights that may help us to understand and get a deeper meaning of how we can take this into our hearts and move forth in the message that our brother Jesus shared with us 2,000 years ago. But first, the important stuff. Anyone watching the Masters besides me? Last week when Dr. Mary shared with us that what's happened is, some of the symptoms of ascension, which I can check off many, one of those is losing interest in the past, things that had meaning for us in the past. And I take that even a step further of losing interest in the drama of the past and the pain of the past. I look at it as so empowering. But the one thing that resonates with me so much is, most of you all probably know, or maybe not, that from the time I was 7 years old to now, 20 years, I had actually, I had a golf career, both as a playing professional and a teaching professional. And it was one of those funky, weird things where the minute my dad took me to the driving range, when I was 7 years old, I knew that was what I was going to do, and I made it happen. I was using these principles that we talk about now, the manifestation principles. I used to watch the tournament and see myself, in these positions and playing. And by the time I was, I think 12 years old, I was playing golf at a national level, and it was really a great experience. And I had met people that I never would have met before had I not pursued that career. Also, I was just kidding around with someone this week. I said I did thankfully have a very successful career in the golf business and did really well and never had to look for a job and just had $100 bills being just sprinkled on me all the time. And I was like, this is awesome. I mean, I was just like, this was amazing. And it was a great journey, but Ellen and I were down in Florida a few months ago, and I was walking, we were staying at my sister's house on the golf course at PGA National, that was my first club pro job. And I was walking around, and there was a junior golf tournament going on, and I saw the kids carrying their golf bags. Well, actually, the kids have caddies now, which is whatever, but we didn't have caddies, but now 40 years later, they have caddies. But they had their parents following them, and it's a little more grandiose than it was when I was back there, but I said, Ellen, that was my life 40 years ago. And I can't even relate to it now. For me I've just lost interest in golf, not totally, but pretty much not. It's not something on my top 10 list to do, let's put it that way. But one thing I do love is watching the Masters every year. There's something about the energy there that's magical, and it's always exciting. I mean, the tournament is always, there's something there exciting. Well, this year, Tiger is out, bad back. Phil Mickelson missed the cut, so there's two people of interest. But there's a young man, 20 years old, who's tied for the lead, who could win this. And there's Bubba Watson, who's adorable, and he's tied as well. So it's just beautiful because the Masters represents, I think, the coming of spring. And when you look at the golf course, the pristine green grass and the azaleas, and there's a gazillion azaleas. And anyway, it's just beautiful. But I also mentioned to Ellen, I said, now, that does not come by naturally. I can only imagine what they had to use to make all this happen. But besides the point, we can enjoy the beauty. And I think that's what I'm choosing to share here today, is how we can step into our mastery, whether it's as a golfer or as a teacher or as a doctor or a practitioner of any kind, and how we can live from that perspective. And I look at that as really the message that we have so misinterpreted over this past 2,000 years of our brother, master teacher, Jesus. And, it's, when we think of Palm Sunday, leading up to that point, Jesus was a pretty radical guy. He was performing miracles, he was healing the sick, raising the dead, speaking about loving everyone, and it's like, how can you do that? And, just really living from such a high perspective that he was an enigma to many. And certainly he had special traits and characteristics. But what happened after that is many people chose to make him a Messiah and make him the head of a huge church organization, and sort of took him out of that realm of humbleness that he came here from and put him up on a pedestal. And I don't think that was ever his intention or goal. I just can't imagine Jesus coming here living so boldly. And so we've been programmed for 2,000 years to understand Jesus in one light. And certainly my experience as a child and experience of Easter, it was always wonderful. We went to church, we got our beautiful flowers, we got our new Easter dresses, all that good stuff, and the music was great, So Easter was always a very uplifting experience, but again, it was also, by the time I hit my 20s, I was thinking, okay, there's more to this Jesus thing than meets the eye, than what I've been led to believe. And I love Jesus, and I feel I have a conscious conversation with Jesus often. And I admire everything that he stood for. So I'm not here to negate anything, but I think rather to make us understand who he was and what he came to share with us. And so when I got into my 20s, I got introduced to A Course in Miracles, and I loved just the idea when Jesus says he came to us, that the message that we had been informed of for the past 2,000 years ago is not actually 100% accurate. And that he came to be the example for what's potential in each and every one of us. He came to demonstrate that we all have this potential. He says, even in Scripture, it says, even the least among you will do all I've done in greater things, even greater things. In the Course in Miracles, it goes on to say, all are chosen, but few choose to listen. So he takes himself off the pedestal. The only difference that between Jesus and us, and he certainly deserves all respect, is that he chose to live and come from love in all he did. He chose to tune in to the voice of the Father, the voice of love in everything he did and everywhere he went. When he did have perform these miracles, I believe, science and spirituality are supporting this, and I believe that Jesus understood, and as Greg Braden calls Jesus, he says he was also a master scientist, because he understood how the laws of the universe worked. And so he was able to see when someone came, the leper came and to his feet, and Jesus did not identify with the sickness, but identified with the divinity of each and every person, and enabled that to manifest. I'd kind of like to have that gift of turning water into wine. That'd be a fun one, wouldn't it? And, yeah, there you go. But he stood for love. He stood for peace, and I think that now what is so interesting is how certain spiritual religions have sort of put them in their corner and actually said, well, if you want to follow Jesus, you can't do this, 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 and this, and you're going to be judged for it, and the not so good. And I think that a lot of times over the years, when I mention Jesus, or Jesus comes up, people are like, not enough of the Jesus stuff. I've been there already. So that makes me feel sorry, because he is a beautiful messenger and teacher, and it's a shame that he has been imposed upon certain people with such a message of what he's not about. So when Jesus came into Jerusalem, all of this was if you all, I believe this, and I believe that Jesus knew what he was coming into. I think he knew what was on the agenda. I don't think there was any surprise there with any of it, because he came here to demonstrate a greater message than actually just being applauded as he rode his donkey into Jerusalem. And certainly the Romans are there, the ones that were hoping he would be able to make change. So he was, the palm fronds were an honoring that they spread out on the path before him, and the donkey represents humility. And he came in not in a Rolls Royce, and not in an Armani suit, okay? And he wasn't like, ew. That was not who he was. It was a humble, loving man. But a couple of tidbits that I pulled up this week were, first of all, about Palm Sunday, and it is the start of Holy Week, which is the week before Easter, obviously, and it commemorates the last days of Jesus' life. And so, it is a great epic story, really, when you think about it. And the hero's welcome that he received was during the Jewish Passover celebration. People had heard about his miracles, expected him to deliver them from the Roman Empire's domination. So again, they were hoping that would be the case. And in the end, it was really far beyond that. It goes on, one of the most notable processions, one of the most notable processions that place during the week is in Spain. And, this week there are processions, that we see. And there's even people who go into the extreme of hanging themselves on the cross. And have you seen that? Just, wow. That's we don't do that here. So, so that's, you don't have to worry about that. But it really is, it's which side of the coin are we focusing on? Are we going to focus on this? Or are we going to focus on the humility of the man, the love of the man, and the message he came to share, that we all have this potential within us? And if we just let go of our past and our mind chatter and our judgment and our fear, we can literally move mountains. And it's why we trade it off. It's as A Course in Miracles says, you give away the kingdom of heaven for so little. We think, oh, I want that, and that's going to do it. And nothing out here is going to equate this much to the kingdom of heaven, yet we're continually looking outside of ourselves. And one thing about Jesus that I do really resonate to is I can see the story, and the week started out pretty good for him. Okay, I'm assuming he has no ego, but it had to feel good, people honoring him and loving him and blessing him and coming in and having palm fronds waved at him, and people just honoring him in such a beautiful way. And he knew as I think what was coming. And we know the rest of the story, which we'll get into a little more next week. But, being betrayed and crucified, and of course the good news is what happens after that. But besides that, what as a metaphor, and I like to look at scripture and spiritual teachings as a metaphor for life and metaphor for living. And I see that, the metaphor, that if we look at this metaphorically, a couple of things are, number one, even though doom and gloom by judgment were laid at his feet, he never lost sight of his true purpose and who he was. He never got afraid, he never blamed, he never condemned, he never defended or attacked back. It was just, he stayed true to his course. And, we're all going through these times now that are turbulent and tough. And I think as we learned last week, these lessons are accelerating, and all for good reason. They don't seem like a good reason, but they are. And they're not much fun. But in the meantime, what we do, we have that choice. And Jesus never strayed from that path. But what we do is when this person acts a certain way and upsets us, or this situation doesn't work the way we want it to, or what have you, we jump into the battle, and then we're giving away all of our power. I mean, truly, if for no other reason, and back to the Course in Miracles quote, which is so apropos, a teacher of God is generous out of self-interest. Because, once we understand that to hold a grievance or a judgment towards self or others, to blame or attack, is really just pouring the gasoline over our own head, we're going to be more generous, because a gift to our brother is a gift to ourselves. And so it's up to us to understand, if we just live from our heart and put our head on the pillow at night and say, okay, this evening, be in gratitude. What do I have to be grateful for today? And we all have many things to be grateful for. Focus on that. Marianne Williamson goes on to say, before she goes to bed, she goes in her mind, who have I not forgiven today? And so we want to go to bed with a clean heart, a clean conscience. And so if we would do these practices, then we're setting ourselves up for being miracle-minded and being able to create miracles. But it takes a little bit of letting go of the old and surrendering to the unknown. But the known doesn't seem like such a hot option sometimes either, does it? So I think that if we just allow ourselves to say, I place my future in the hands of God, and recognize when I'm getting upset that it's, what is it in me that's perceiving this so wrongly? And when we do that, we actually raise our vibration, and then we can live from that premise of what Jesus came here to demonstrate and teach us. Well, in A Course in Miracles, it goes on to say that during Holy Week, and it was one of the most beautiful expressions of Jesus' life, I think. And it goes on, and it just starts off, it says, this is Palm Sunday, the celebration of victory and the acceptance of truth. Let's not spend this week, this Holy Week, brooding on the crucifixion of God's Son, but happily in the celebration of his release. For Easter is a sign of peace, not pain. A slain Christ has no meaning, but a risen Christ becomes the symbol of the Son of God's forgiveness on himself, the sign that he looks upon himself as healed and whole. This week begins with palms and ends with lilies. The white and holy sign, the Son of God is innocent. Let no dark sign of crucifixion intervene between the journey and its purpose, between the acceptance of truth and its expression. This week we celebrate life, not death, and we honor the perfect purity of the Son of God and not his sins. Offer your brother the gift of lilies, not the crown of thorns. The gift of love and the gift of fear. You stand beside your brother, thorns in one hand and lilies in another, uncertain which to give. Join now with me and throw away the thorns, offering lilies to replace them. This Easter I would have the gift of your forgiveness offered by you to me and returned by me to you. We cannot be united in crucifixion and death, nor can the resurrection be complete till your forgiveness rests in Christ along with me. And I love that image. I can just see, every moment we have the lilies in one hand and the thorns in another. And what are we offering? There is no goodness, there's no love in the crucifixion and death as the way we've seen it in the past. And by offering that gift of lilies, Jesus was able to transcend the physical world. This world is not our home. And we can live in this world in that state of being that transcends the pain and suffering if we choose the lilies over the thorns. And I would invite us to hold that image, and if we really focus on that this week, clear your consciousness this week. Who have I not forgiven? Who can I offer lilies to rather than thorns? How can I be more in alignment with the message Jesus came here to teach? And if we do that, within a matter of minutes, in an instant, everything can be shifted. But if we focus on that just this week, and I invite you all to join me in an experiment, let's see if we can really pay attention, be willing to shift from thorns to lilies whenever that mind chatter comes up. I do have a personal experience. Lately, this past year, I've had some wonderful lessons, and I can't say they've been fun, but they've been good ones. And so it's been all about forgiveness, but also all about my staying true to what what Spirit leads me to do. And sometimes that seems kind of ugly. And yesterday, there was a situation recently that I've had some issues with. Surprise. But I just went in my heart and just continued to say, I surrender, I'm willing to do whatever it is. Leave, let go, blah, 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 whatever. And, but I was always, looking at my own stuff, my own investment in this, choosing to stay true to love and God's will in this. And I don't want to go into the details because it's not fair to the situation, but I had a real miracle happen yesterday, which was remarkable. And it was like, wow, that was amazing. And that could not have happened had I continued to stay in judgment and perpetuate all the stuff, the need to be right, and the fixing it and changing it, and the pointing fingers and defending and all that. The miracle would have never happened. But in my defenselessness, as the Course says, my safety lies. And if we just stay in our state of peace and be willing to just say, okay, Spirit, it's in your hands, whatever is the highest and best for everybody, and every one of my brothers and sisters, show me what to do. And so it was really remarkable what happened. So I only share that because I know this stuff works. Not to say I've mastered it, because I certainly can get upset too. But it's like, why, as another quote that I love so much is, delay is meaningless in eternity, but tragic in time. Why do we continue to drag ourselves, that's what the Course says, why do we keep dragging that cross behind us? If we just let go of the past, forgive the past, choose lilies over thorns, and be in love, then we're living as we're intended to be. Then we all can be that manifestation of Jesus' love on the planet. We can all, just think, there's only a few of us in this room compared to the 8 billion or 7 billion people on the planet. But we don't have to focus on what's going wrong. If we just focus on clearing our own stuff, everyone in the universe will benefit and feel it and receive that. So it's seek not to change the world, but rather change our mind about the world. So I invite you all to join me on this experiment and see where we are next week. I really can't wait to get in here and feel the energy when we really focus on this. It feels pretty good already. And as I always say, I'm preaching to the choir here, because there's a lot of very conscious people. Everyone in here is conscious and aware and willing to step up to a higher place of being and living. And it's such a beautiful experience to just see all the light in this room every week and throughout the week. So this little quote that I wanted to share, it's very simple, but very practical if we use it. And also, I think, more than anything, it's incredibly powerful and transformative. And it's very simple. Life is full of ups and downs. Glorify God during the ups and fully trust Him during the downs, and all will be well. And so it is. Namaste.